We know, Zolivia, that the soul can grow, expand, purify, and become melodious only when sustained by fine electric, magnetic, odilic, and edionic aromas which evolve from finer department of floral, faunal, and fruitful kingdoms of nature in the lower and upper realms. In those days of human infancy, my gazelle-eyed Zolivia, men failed to realize that the stupidities, ferocities, hatreds, and in fact every quality of every brute was in the incarnated, condensed, and crystallized in the flesh essences of the physical structure thereof. We in this age know that man is not sustained by flesh or substance, but by the essences or photoplasmal aromas thereof, which are by the stomach extracted therefrom, and which are assimilated with the form of part of the blood, and then, by virtue of still more important changes, pass to the nerves, and, still refining and ascending, become the pabulum for the human spirit itself, the protoplasm of the immortal soul. History informs us, my precious one, that the ancient people of the 19th century were savages, barbarians, selfish sycophants, and fawning knaves, because my love light, the essences of flesh they ate, contained and imparted the qualities of beasts that they furnished it. In these days we reject such things, and as a consequence need not aid the metallic wires to transmit thought, but do it by exercise of clarified mind. In the 19th century, the night time of the human mankind required a material, tangible, and sensational proof of demonstration of the fact of immortality. What an astonishing statement! And yet it is true. It makes us smile when I look back and realize the astonishing obtuseness. It is amusing, Zolivia, when we picture to ourselves spirits, angels, seraphs, eidons, esaraphs, being actually compelled to make noises on tables or to clarify portions of brains on certain persons called mediums in order to prove man immortal being. This state of things is long since ceased, my best beloved. The men know better than to saturate their forms with poisons. Men no longer inhale the smoke of burning vegetable called tobacco or of a gum called opium, as they did in the dark ages of the 19th century. They no longer drink chemical liquids and fiery compounds known as tea, coffee, wine, and alcohol, nor do we subsist upon roots which grow in the ground, for those were evidently intended not for man, but for the beasts which lived in those days, which were provided with horn-like protuberances wherein to dig them up from the soil. We now inhale pure air, and not poisoned by the rarefied and particularly burned oxygen of stove-furnished rooms. Nor do we waste our physical powers and excellences for the sake of passing moment of pleasure, which is false, fleeting, evanescent, and hollow, and consequently do not sap the foundations of life, from which flow the finer emotions and feelings of the spirit. But our education commences in the bodies of the souls of our parents years before we are born. Consequently, we have none of these strange-looking men with people of dark ages of 19th century called physicians or doctors who were endowed with knowledge of science of poisons. For that is a fact, Zolivia, that whatever a man or woman became poisoned, those persons straightway had administered poisons till more deadly than the original. Yet, in spite of this, the people lived an astonishing age of 60, 70, and sometimes even 80 or more years. This resulted, however, from the fact that men took more care of their bodies than their minds. For if, like us, they knew how to expand the soul and fit it for the skies, they would sooner have left the earth and mounted aloft to a happier home. Thus ends the part of the letter which we have been able to decipher. We have engaged the services of an eminent cryptologist, who will furnish the further translations at another time. Thus ended the prophetic reverie. Probably, in these days when this prophecy shall be realized, we shall know more of the infinite resources of the soul than we do today, and perhaps have an understandable theory as to how it works its wonders. Till we do have such a theory, let us be content with receiving facts. It is possible to gain our ends by humoring the whims of someone who interests us, and children, sick people, and the insane are not seldom favorably affected by the condescension on our part, for wisdom very often stoops to conquer prejudice. In the years during which the writer of these pages has been associated with certain clairvoyant phases of life, a very strange and singular fact has in 1,000 instances presented itself to observation, with the persistent and regular recurrence of a mathematical law. The fact is this: I have never known a real and earnest soul seer, male or female, old or young, physical or mental, but who has been forced to travel over the very hardest and most thorny of life roads, an exact proportion to which such ones were sensitive and susceptible to magnetic and supramundane influences, just in the precise ratio have there been made to suffer. Nor do I believe any class of people on earth, taken individually and together, have ever endured such terrible and long-continued anguish as they.